everyone, welcome to my kitchen. My name is Ryan, and in this first video, I'm gonna do a Christina Tosi recipe, because I love her. I'm gonna do a new recipe from her new cookbook, all about cookies. So if you don't know who Christina Tosi is, she's amazing. You should check her out, Google her. There's even like an episode on Chef's Table, I think it's season 4 on Netflix. She's like my biggest inspiration. I felt like a lot of my baking has improved, or like she taught me a lot of techniques through her cookbook. Yeah, gonna try something out of her new book. So as I was looking through the book, there was a section called snaps, and I was like, what's the snap? And apparently, one holiday season, Tosi and the team were brainstorming ideas of a baked good to make. They wanted something with the spirit of cookie and like a chocolatey candy vibe, which ultimately led to this creation of a snap. And of course, these recipes looked pretty complicated, so I wanted to challenge myself and try it out. So the snap that I chose to make for this video is gonna be a chocolate peppermint pretzel snap. It's a lot to say. I'll probably forget the name. It was coincidentally the first ever snap in Milkbar history. So basically the snap consists of 5 components: a chocolate wafer cookie, chewy caramel, mini pretzel, white chocolate coating, and the sprinkling of candy canes or crushed candy canes. For timing, I think I'm gonna start with the chewy caramel. Well, she also tells you to start with the chewy caramel just because it needs time to cool down, and it's gonna be the longest to cool down. After that, I'll move on to the chocolate wafer, start assembling it, and then the last thing I'll do is melt the chocolate for coating. Alrighty, let's get to it. Alrighty, let's get started with the chewy caramel. I'm gonna start with the sugar into a medium saucepan. Let's say medium heat. Yeah, I'm comfortable with that. And then we're gonna put a 1/4 cup of sugar and let that melt. So the recipe they use in the book is basically a recipe for a dry caramel, so no water is going to be added. The only thing that's kind of scary about dry caramel is that it's really easy to burn, so you have to like just be sure that you are paying close attention to it. When you start to see it melt, just be sure to mix it around. See, the sugar is starting to dissolve. So just be sure to keep on mixing. More than half is dissolved, so I'm gonna add another 1/4 cup. And you're basically gonna repeat this process until all your sugar dissolves and becomes this nice amber color. Okay, so I finished adding all the sugar into the pot. I'm just waiting for it to just get nice and smooth and silky. Just mixing a lot, making sure nothing burns. Okay, it's getting to the consistency I like, so I'm gonna get the butter ready. I'm probably gonna put in 1 tablespoon at a time. I'm gonna turn off the heat. Okay, all of the butter has been incorporated, so I'm just gonna put some salt and slowly mix in the heavy cream and the vanilla extract. Alrighty, so the caramel's cooling in the refrigerator, and then next I'm gonna start on the chocolate wafers. So for the chocolate wafers, I'm gonna mix together the liquid ingredients first, which is butter, and then I don't like using measuring cups. I think scales just make your life so much easier. So there's not a lot to clean. Get a scale. Add some sugar. Next is some honey. And then some vanilla extract. Okay, as that's mixing, I'm gonna get together the dry ingredients. There's gonna be some flour, cocoa powder, and then add some salt. For small measurements like kosher salt, like it asks for like 2 grams. It's a lot easier using like the teaspoon measurement. It's really hard for a scale to measure something that small, but for everything else, it's pretty good. Last is some baking soda. I'm just gonna give this mixture a little mix. So it says, add the flour, this mixture, and paddle on low until just combined, about 20 seconds. Alrighty, so I've done this recipe once before, and I think this is probably the hardest part. The next thing I have to do is basically just split that in half, squish it in between two pieces of parchment paper, put it in the refrigerator, have it cool, and cut out the wafers, which is a lot, so stay tuned. Cutting out some parchment paper. So I got my parchment paper, and I'm gonna attempt to separate the dough in half. Just giving it a final mix by hand because I see some dry spots. I don't know what they're called. It just doesn't look very homogeneous. Oh, here's a little tip for spatulas. Try to get one that's like one piece. The wooden spatulas, I know a lot of them look really nice. Like the head is silicone and the handle's wood, but I've broken at least like 5 of them. So they may look nice, but they don't last that long. Okay. I think I could just put it all out. Just using the parchment paper to scrape clean the spatula just because I worked really hard on this dough and I don't want any of it to go to waste. And then I'm just gonna like fold the parchment paper over to flatten it. They want me to roll it out to 1/2 inch thickness. Okay. That's about 1/2 inch. Some cut around it, and I don't know if this is the right thing to do, but I'm doing it. And then I'm gonna put this in the refrigerator, have it cool, and then because my refrigerator is so small, my freezer is even tinier, and I find that cutting out the wafers is a lot easier from the freezer. So I like to put it in the refrigerator first to have this set, and then put it in my freezer, because then it doesn't move as much, so it could breeze more flat. Alrighty, since I was waiting for a long time, I decided to go to Trader Joe's. And I realized I made a mistake. And I also found these white truffle popcorn. I like truffle, so just wanted to try it out. I realized they said to split the batter into 2 parts, and I was like, oh, this is not a lot of batter, so I'll just do it in one go. And then I realized when I was doing the recipe for the first time, it's best to cut out those wafers as fast as possible and transfer them onto the baking sheet, because as soon as it gets like, not even like room temperature, as soon as it gets like a little warmer, it's really hard to like move around. It gets mushy really fast, and like it will be hard to transfer from where you cut it to the baking sheet. So yeah, so I put it in the freezer like about 10 minutes ago, so I'll probably keep it in the freezer for a bit longer. Like it gets really hard, because when it's really hard, it's a lot easier to transfer over to the baking sheet. But since I didn't split the dough into half, there's going to be a lot of wafers I'm going to need to transfer over. So the longer I take, the warmer it's going to get, and the warmer it gets, the harder it is to handle. So hopefully everything works out. Alrighty, so at this point I am okay, so at this point I'm basically digressing from the recipe a little bit, but not anything too serious. In the recipe it says to put it between 2 pieces of parchment paper, roll it out, put it in the refrigerator, and it's good to go in 30 minutes. And then it tells you to take it out, stamp it, and then taking like an offset spatula, dig underneath, lift it up, and put it onto the sheet tray. And I was like, cool, sounds easy enough. But when I tried it, stamping it was easy. Using an offset spatula to dig underneath it, that was the hard part, because it started to rip the parchment paper underneath. So when I lifted it up, I left the parchment paper too. It got warm too fast because it was only in the refrigerator for 30 minutes. And when I tried digging underneath it, it was just a mess. So that's why I put it in the freezer. And then also, you remember the mistake I was talking about earlier. So during this portion, I'll probably not talk and try to do this as fast as possible. So my method that I like doing is putting it in the freezer, taking it out of the freezer, detaching the top parchment paper because it will be stuck on there, flipping it over, detaching the bottom parchment paper, and then stamping it onto the cookie tray. Because sometimes when you stamp it, it'll get stuck in here, and then you could just poke it in onto the tray. And you could put the biscuits pretty close to each other. They don't spread too much, and when they do spread and touch, you could like snap it off later. You'll see what I'm talking about later. All right, so there we go. Yeah, so it's nice and tough. Detaching the parchment paper, and now just cutting it out. These are definitely thicker than the first time I tried doing it, so this might actually spread out a lot more, but I don't really care. And then I'm just like basting it on the parchment sheet before it gets too warm, and it's really hard to move once it gets to like room temperature. I know I'm making this look really easy, but I was struggling a lot. Oh wow, it makes the perfect amount. So the recipe said it will make about 12 biscuits, and this is about 12 biscuits. Cool. Alright, I'm just gonna put this on top of each other so I could just squish it down and roll out more out of it later. Alrighty, so now I'm gonna preheat the oven to 325 and then I'm gonna leave it in there for about 10-12 minutes. Okay, just finished baking off the wafers. They're cooling in the refrigerator. I should probably pull out the caramel so it's not too cold when I spread it on the wafer. Okay, before I melt the white chocolate, I'm just gonna coat each of the biscuits with some caramel. Because I just want everything ready before I melt the white chocolate, because chocolate is just a pain in the butt. So for the recipe, we take one biscuit and we just put 1 tablespoon of caramel and add 2 pieces of pretzels on top. I didn't add salt into this, so you'll see me sprinkle salt on top of it. And then when I run out, this is the caramel I made more recently. Alright. So just leave it on here. I like to take a scoop of this. It's a tablespoon scoop. Alright, so it's a full tablespoon. I like taking the back of the spoon and just like pushing it out, because then now I'm using the back of the spoon to spread it out, and it's really sticky. So I'm putting the tablespoon on top of the lid container. That's because if I leave the tablespoon in the caramel, it's going to start sinking into the caramel, and it's just not that much fun when that happens, because when you try to pull it out to scoop another tablespoon, we'll have all this caramel dripping off of the spoon. So it's nice going into the tub with like a somewhat clean but not like drenched tablespoon, so it's easier to scoop. And then you're just moving the spoon back and forth, spreading it along, but not too far, because you don't want it dripping off the edge of the cookie. I think this is about the last I can get from this container. And then each of these get 2 pretzels. So all that's left is to cover these in white chocolate. So the peppermint white chocolate just needs white chocolate, canola oil. It says to microwave in 30-second burst until smooth. It's about 2 minutes. So while that's melting, all I have to do is add in a 1/4 teaspoon of peppermint extract, mix it all together, and then dump these in and lay them on parchment paper for them to cool. That's the first 30 seconds. It still looks kind of together. So I'm gonna do another 30 seconds. This is no secret, I hate chocolate. I hate working with chocolate. It's messy, it's annoying, it's messy, and it's expensive. Like, these are like cheap white chocolate chips, and like chocolate is something what's that saying? You pay for what you get. So since these are like cheap white chocolate chips, you could tell. But thank goodness, like, this isn't like the star of the recipe. Ooh, it's hot. I think I don't need 2 minutes because one, my microwave's pretty strong, and two, I think this is called stoneware, and it kind of keeps the temperature nice. Let's see, it's starting to come together. This is the only amount of chocolate I'm gonna melt. If I run out of white chocolate before I fully cut all these cookies, it's totally fine eating these without the white chocolate. It's about pretty smooth. So I'm gonna add 1/4 teaspoon of peppermint extract. And then these are just crushed up candy canes. So in the book, she says to put the cookie face down and then flip it over and then take it out with a fork. I was pretty bad at it last. I think last time I did this, I also cooled down the cookie. That would be cold. But it doesn't seem like it's making too much of a difference. I probably have enough to cover 2 more cookies, which leaves 4 uncovered, and I'm totally fine with that. They taste great without it too. I should probably sprinkle some of the candy cane on there before it solidifies. Alrighty, I'm just gonna clean up and then pull it out when it's all nice and chilled. Alright, so here's the peppermint, ginger, whatever it's called. Really hard cookie to make. Let's dig into it. So, these cookies, they're crunchy but soft, surprisingly not too sweet, and they have hints of salt, like salty and sweet. You could taste the chocolate, you could taste the peppermint, you could taste the sweetness from the white chocolate. There's an airy crunch from the pretzel. The biscuit gives it like a nice fortified crunch, and the candy cane on top gives it like a nice dainty crunch. So like 3 different crunches happening here. Like, it's a complex cookie, given that there was a lot of steps to it. Would I give this out as a present? Maybe to people. Like, let me rephrase this. If someone really wanted it, yeah, I'd make it. If someone was a foodie, I'd make it. If someone wasn't expecting a present, I would not give this to them. It's just that, I don't know. I think on the worth it scale, I give this cookie like a 6 out of 10. It's because when you give it to someone, they have it, they eat it, they bite it. And the biggest compliment I got from this cookie was the pretzel. The one thing I didn't spend hours making. So yeah, it's worth a shot if you want to try it out. Challenge yourself. It's a good holiday cookie. Other than that, here's my first video. If you like the content, don't forget to subscribe. Check out the links on the bottom. Other than that, thanks for watching, making it this far. I really don't know how to end this. It's my first